I'm Jen.
I'm Natalie.
And this is a shot of vodka culture.
Cheers.
Sexual harassment.
Well, what do you got to say about that? There's been a lot of talk, obviously, lately about sexual harassment in the news that stemmed from Fox News' very own Gretchen Carlson. You may have known her from Fox and Friends, if you watch Fox News. She was on there, I think she was part of Fox News for about 11 years. She was moved to an afternoon time slot. The ratings were never very good in this time slot. From what I've heard, I don't watch Fox News, but I read a lot and follow the story. The time slot was never a very good one, though you can look at statistics that show ratings, and the ratings did improve, actually, while she was in this time slot. With that being said, she was still let go. What she alleged was a very cold-fashioned way. She is on the record of saying it was very cold-hearted. 30 seconds it took for them to fire her. No, thank you for your 11 years of service, nothing. And she then sued Fox News and Roger Ailes for sexual harassment, stating that she was often harassed by other men that were on Fox and friends with her. She would bring the complaint to Mr. Ailes, who she alleged would also then harass her. And at one point, they'd have a conversation about her body, and he would tell her, again, according to her reports, he said to her, you're such a man-hater, just learn to get along with the boys. And the last thing that she alleged that he said to her was, if you and I just had a sexual relationship a long time ago, this would be happening, you'd be good, I'd be good, and we'd both be a better place, essentially. So she sued him. She, I guess, won. It was settled. He was let go from his position at Fox News with, as far as I know, with pay and probably all the stocks. He now, as far as I've known, works for the Trump campaign. And so, so I think, and however your feelings are about Fox News, I still think, for her to do that, go up against a man that's that intimidating and a network that's that intimidating, was very brave. And, it's one thing to say, she just did like she was fired. But since she did that, and first of all, no, a lot of women aren't going to just allege that because they're mad they got fired. That's quite a thing to put yourself through and your family. Since then, other women have come forward and said the same thing has happened to them.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's a very intimidating situation to be in. From a psychological perspective, I think that there are a large number of men out there who believe that their position in a niche market or a market where the competition is very intense take advantage of their
position.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were reading all that, what I immediately thought of was Hollywood. This is not an uncommon thing in Hollywood, where you have, say, 100 actresses who look all the same and are about the same talent, and you're like, okay, which one of you is going to give me a blowjob, And it is a function of how the business runs. It's a totally unfortunate thing and should absolutely be put to rest. But I mean, there's been this precedent set.
And what's crazy too about this, we're not crazy, but with this precedent error, with that happening is if it's found out that a woman does sleep with her boss for that position, it's always the woman that is in the wrong for that. Well, the woman slept her way to the top. The woman is the bad one, but not the man who did it. And it's never equal punishment. It's never, you're a bad boss. It's always the woman for doing that.
You fucked your way into the job. And like Lana Del Rey actually made a song called "I Fucked My Way to the Top," and I don't know if she did or not, because as far as I know, she was born into the business. But I mean, good for her for writing that song. It very much is like, oh, you slept with somebody to get your job? You're not that good at it then. And it's like, no, you don't understand. There are a lot of people who are really good at this. And at the end of the day, the hiring practices become arbitrary. And a lot of times it comes down to who you fuck.
Which shouldn't be that way,
and it shouldn't. And I believe that Gretchen never performed any of those behaviors, which is ultimately why she was fired.
Yeah.
She made it despite not, quote unquote, giving up the goods, which, by the way, how is that even a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, do you tell your potential male news anchors, oh, you got to suck my dick?
Yeah. No,
you just do that to the women.
Yeah. When I think it comes from obviously it comes from a place of privilege, and it comes from a place of almost like expectations. Well, entitlement. Like I am your boss. I am entitled to this. Otherwise, why are you here? And
my qualifications, my resume, what I bring to the on-screen debate and candor and repertoire, you know, and
exactly.
rapport.
But it is something that, you know, the quid pro quo thing is very prevalent. Like, well, what are you gonna do for me to do this for you? And are you suggesting that in order for me to get as far as you've gotten in your career, because as far as I know, you haven't done those things, but you expect me to? And what happens is that when women turn on women for that, because, you know, women will bicker and argue about that, and it's like, what? Why? And it's very, very. This is very common, almost like a pop culture thing. There's, you know, an episode of Desperate Housewives where one of the women, Felicity Huffman's character, can't remember her name now, Lynn or something, I'm sorry. She goes back to work, and she has this whole thing, and they're supposed to be like strong, independent women. And she goes back to the workforce, and there's a woman that she's competing with who's wearing skimpier dresses and has long hair and makeup. And she makes the comment that she must have done something to get there, who she's sleeping with, and that you're supposed to be meant to think that this is just normal. That's just what's common, and it's almost like off the cuff.
It's not okay.
And it's supposed to be just casual that she says this and funny. And I remember thinking, well, that was a little inappropriate, woman. Like, you just assume that she got there because of that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so embedded in our society.
There's this whole subtopic of why do women hate women so much?
And I think that's something that men have a control over. Like, they want to keep, the same reason the rich want to keep the poor people fighting over crumbs is the same reason for the top men want to keep women fighting, because then they won't turn on them and become
you know, and I think we may be totally digressing at this point, but I think in a way it's kind of akin to that whole male insecurity about penis size. It's like, oh, am I enough of a man to get women? And then there are women being like, oh, am I enough of a woman to get a
this
man?
job? Or
to
get this job.
Whatever it is.
Qualifications to get this job.
And it's the very superficial things that we have somehow set our worth on.
And I think it's important, going back to Gretchen Carlson, to give accolades to women who have the strength to stand up. And, you know, she's out said, you know, I did this not only for myself to, you know, make a point, but also to help other women have the strength to come forward. And since she has, numerous other, including 6, but numerous other women at Fox have said, yes, I believe her. Things kind of like that happened to me. They weren't, you know, ones that still work there weren't really, like Megyn Kelly, weren't willing to go as far as say it was them because they still have jobs, I think. And that's, by the way, not a slam at Megyn Kelly. I'm just saying maybe it did, but her saying I stand with her, I believe that this did happen to her. Yeah. And other women who have said, yeah, in the past it's happened to me by him too. And I think, you know, she should be applauded for having the strength to even do this to begin with and stand up for what a lot of women are intimidated to do. I mean, the Fox News Network and Roger Ailes, I mean, that's a rich man, and to have that strength to go up against him without intimidating should be applauded. And not...
I absolutely applaud her. I'm going to play slightly devil's advocate right now. If a woman does choose to do sexual favors to get her position, you can't crawl up her ass for that either, because that's the business.
Well, that's what that was just going to say, but that's... I mean, that's what women are the one who get beaten up for that.
I mean, like, I think
nobody will ever say, well, that man slept with that woman and got her a promotion. That's wrong on his, that's unethical for him to be doing. It's never the guy's fault. It's always the woman did something unethical.
I hear all that. And the thing is, like, men, by and large, are not being pressured to perform sexual favors for positions. Women do get propositioned in that way. And I feel like if a woman, knowing her assets and advantages, wants to exploit that.
Well, I'm not going to judge or slam her. I think we should do something to change that culture.
I disagree with the culture of that, but I'm telling you, like if I give a blowjob to somebody at Sony or HBO to get a show on the air.
Well, I'm not going to judge you for that, but I'm thinking that we should that should change. It shouldn't be that way.
It should not be that way.
I'm not going to be complacent in that way, but I'm not going to judge or slam. And if I'm going to judge anybody, it's going to be equal across the board. He's unethical as well for thinking that he's going to award somebody over another person. Because the woman who didn't give the blowjob, and that, with all due respect, who may have been more talented, who didn't get the job, that's where I have a problem. Why is that? So I'm going to slam him equally. He should have been the ethical one. He's the one in that position, and he's the one who went beyond.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, let's be very clear. This is a systemic problem. This shouldn't be happening in the first place. People should be hired on the basis of the qualities that they bring to the table. And yeah, let's be honest, sometimes they're sexual in nature. Like with, you want a hot, young, blonde Republican in a sexy dress to represent Fox News. Okay, that's ratings, that's business. Giving you a blowjob, got nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's got nothing to do with it. So, I mean, there are lines to be drawn, and it's a systemic problem. And until that sexual harassment has been addressed and cut off, there are the women who are going to play the game, and we can't. But we as women, we can't shit on the other women for doing what we should fucking do. And then we also can't villainize the women who stand up against it and say, you know what? No, I didn't sleep with that guy because I'm better than that. That person
should also, in my opinion, what should happen in that situation is that person who stands in it should get with the woman who didn't and join forces together and say, we're in this together. What you did, I'm not going to judge that, but we need to get together and fight this problem because we're never going to win doing it individually. That's never going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So let's put it in as an example. I don't have much time because this is a shot, and shots don't last this long. But let's say we're both submitting shows, in your example, to HBO.
Yep.
And you are willing.
And I'll blow the guy.
You blow the guy, and I don't. You get the job, and I don't. And I come, let me just finish. And I come to you, and I say, hey. And you say, yeah, I did. And I go, you know what? That's wrong that he did that to you. You were also
I'll take you back.
You were harassing that. I'm not braver than you are. I just didn't do it. Let's get together and say, F you, you unethical asshole who accepted her blowjob or asked for her blowjob and then gave her a job and didn't give one to me. This is how we work together to solve the problem. It's not by making each other feel bad because one person is AKA weaker than the other or whatever. That's not going to solve the problem, and we need to get together on that.
Again, and this is a shot, but I just want to add, doing the blowjob doesn't make you weaker. It just, actually, no, I'm not going to say. I was going to say the blowjob doesn't make you weaker. It makes you more ambitious, but I actually don't believe that's true. I actually believe that I believe that the person who stands up and says, no, the quality of my work speaks for myself. And I don't need to do anything else for you to sell myself. This is what I bring to the table. Take it or leave it. I believe in that woman. But I'm going to support any woman either way. We have to have each other's backs. I mean, this is... We got to stop this whole thing of women hating on other women.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, bitch, I'm not trying to take your man. We're on the same team. Yeah. We are on the same team. We have to support one another.
I agree. So,
until next time, I'm Jen.
I'm Natalie.
And this has been A Shot of Vodka Culture. Cheers.
Do it.